Hello, I'm APX Toycat, and in Snapshot 24W07A, Mojang has just introduced the Bogged.
Introducing the Borg, the new hostile mob, ready to take your hearts away.
Okay, that sounds dramatic, but it's actually a new, weaker skeleton variant that will spawn outside of the trial chambers as well as inside of it, and they've also made some changes to the wind charge, including one to looting, which I think is fascinating. Let's share all of those changes, raid a trial chamber with the new mob, and then do the deeper dive on what this means for 1.21 as a whole. Hello, I'm IBX Toycat, and let's dive into these snapshot changes today. First, we'll of course start with the new mob so that we don't get bogged down with it or anything, because this new mob is a skeleton exclusive to the swamps and mangrove swamps, and it's interesting because on the surface it sounds like it's a lot worse. It has a slower fire rate than the skeleton by a lot, and it even has lower health, but obviously the thing that makes it so unique is the actually, you know, I don't even need to fight it and deal with that health myself, but the thing that makes this skeleton so unique is that it will fire poison arrows. This is going to be really intriguing on two fronts. One of those is the fact that it's one of the big times you can get poisoned for just going into an entire biome. The swamps and mangrove swamps will get more dangerous, it has to be said, but the other end of this is that arrows of poison will now become a piece of loot that you can obtain yourself. I would prove this to you by finding another one, but I think if you go into a swamp biome that's right next to a tiger, you might not have to worry about this at all. The other thing to keep in mind about the Bogged is it's obviously an undead mob, and so sharpness is not the way to go, but instead smite is. Indeed, if you use a regular sword or sharpness, it's still going to be 2 hits to kill. However, if you decide to use smite instead, and if you're willing to bear the risk of that, if you use smite 5 on a Bogged, this will be a 1-hit KO, and so effectively is a 200% increase in damage. A lot of sharpness and smite can result in weird rounding errors. That means it either does everything or it does nothing. In the case of the Bogged, if you have a smite sword, you don't have to worry, but everyone else does have to worry very much. Also, something interesting is obviously the Bogged is coming into the game to kind of balance out the collection of weird skeleton and zombie variants. There are 3 for the zombie, and now there are 3 for the skeleton. However, it's worth mentioning that kind of like how the drown doesn't perfectly fit the husk or zombie dichotomy, this doesn't perfectly fit into the stray skeleton dichotomy, because unlike the stray, which drops slowness arrows, and unlike the regular skeleton, which drops regular arrows, this skeleton drops some of each. So here is my bow, and with the arrows that I've got from both of these mobs, I now have enough. I have 12 regular to 4 arrows of poison. So you get an interesting mix of arrows from this, which means that you can't rely on it to farm from poison arrows exclusively, and instead we'll get an interesting mix of 2 drops. I could make a point about how this is another inventory problem, but instead I'll say this is pretty cool. A lot of people had fears they wouldn't be updating the mob in the trial chamber to actually be a brand new variant of the skeletons. It's really, really great that they did so. Speaking of really great, by the way, bring a milk bucket with you, and also speaking of really great, did you know actually I said that there were 3 variants of the skeleton? You could make a decent argument that there are actually 4 variants of the skeleton compared to 3 for the zombie now, because the wither skeleton is sort of in the same category. And so what I'm saying is Minecraft, we need a wither zombie. It'd be a fun idea, right? Especially if you've got a new trial chamber and the idea's coming up anyway. But speaking of where the idea's coming up anyway, let's go to a trial chamber now and show you some of the other interesting things about this update. Okay, I am here and about to be poisoned, and now I can mention that if you are going to find Bogged in the trial chambers, they'll have the exact same type of spawner as the poison skeletons did before them, because they were effectively just a placeholder, as many of us guessed. This is very fun, and means they function exactly the same in terms of rewards, how you get them, and the fact that they're sometimes baked potatoes. However, the fun thing about it you might not realize is this snapshot is basically all about the Bogged, so that's 90% of the things they've done. However, they've also acknowledged that wind charges don't correctly work in adjusting full damage, so here's me launching into the sky and taking some damage. And also they have a bug fix to do with honey bottles collecting from beehives, which is really, really interesting because you might want those right now, because this will cure you of poison, something you might be running into a lot more. So keep in mind that honey bottles and trial chambers are going to be just as good of a fix as they were before, but maybe you're especially going to want to get them and go in here. Mojang certainly seems to think so. Speaking of things Mojang certainly seems to think, I heard a breeze around here somewhere. There's a breeze spawner, but I've totally lost him. I bet he's gone in here. Yeah, that's where he is. You know what are you doing hiding in the corner here, friend? Anyway, so speaking of breezes, when they first came out with a drop last week, the very much loved wind charges, by the way. When they came out with the drop, you would just get 4 to 6 regardless of having looting or not, which almost seemed like a statement from Mojang. However, they have addressed the bug, and they have said that now if you kill a breeze with looting, you can get more wind charges. It's not very much more in my experience. So I've got one right now. Oh man, this is a brutal type of enemy to try and kill with a wooden sword. Lesson learned here, by the way. But yeah, if we charge towards him, making sure to also cure our poison, because we picked out some of that. But if we go towards him and make sure to finish him using my looting sword, you'll notice something very interesting, which is we can get more now. However, unlike most looting mobs, where say with an Enderman you get up to 4 Ender pearls, because it's already 4 to 6, the extra is very much negligible. Indeed, if it's 4 to 6, I just got 5 right there. So even with looting, but it seems like your potential upside is now higher, so it's worth having looting when killing a breeze, but it's not worth going out of your way to get looting before you kill a breeze. Kill them first, come back with looting later, which I kind of like as an idea. So let's go ahead and let's do that now. Let's see if we can get better than 5 on my second kill there. So far I've had 8 and 5, and oh, I'm gonna eat actually before I do any more of this. So far I've just had 8 and 5, and it's not been so great. But yeah, they fixed quite a few things to do with the wind charge because of the fact that they're, again, this is a very loved feature. I got 6 that time. One of these is the fact, the reason that they are broken presumably is because they fixed things to do with being in water, wind charging and coming out of it and taking damage. Things to do with hay bales, not reducing your damage by as much as they should. Indeed, the wind charge just calculated damage as if you were falling on anything. Now it calculates as if you're falling on a hay bale, which is fixed outside of the fact that we shouldn't take damage there at all. And yeah, in general, things are going on the up and up for the wind charge. And outside of all the other bug fixes, things like minor issues like Japanese being misspelled as Japan's, or the panda slime ball drop being hard-coded, or there's lots of interesting little things that they fixed. But one that I really like, wait one sec, did you see that over there? There is I love Minecraft generation for reasons like this. There's just a whole geode hanging out here in the trial chambers. I love when structures generate together, but what I also love is Minecraft's bug fix MC268418. This is a bug they have just fixed this week, so it's one they clearly hold in some priority, right? And it says pre 1.9 chunks would get regenerated seemingly randomly when upgrading. And so Minecraft are putting effort into fixing a bug from 1.9. That only affects worlds which are from 2015 or before. Keep in mind, you'd have to generate it prior to that point and have a lot of chunks, and then sometimes you run into an issue. The fact that they're willing to fix that is really, really great. It's a commitment they've shown a few times before, but it means that Minecraft does care about your old worlds. A lot of other games just say, well, why did you start it when the terrain was like that? Just make a new one and move on. I love that Minecraft has this commitment and says, yeah, actually, we do think that a bug that affects 2015 or older worlds is worth fixing, and that is one of the things that makes Minecraft great, in my opinion. And to kind of talk about a year ago today, Valentine's Day is when they chose to announce the brand new mob this year, because nothing says love like poison, right? And it's interesting because last year they announced the Cherry Grove, so it's a fun contrast, but it does show us that in this stage of the update, you know, Minecraft updates seem to get a lot of hate when they're first announced, but the features that come afterwards, in the case of the last 3, we've had the Vault, the Wind Charge, and the Bogged. The Bogged is pretty well received. I think it's either said that it's like, oh, it's a nice retexture from a different game. I think that's the worst people would say, and the best people say is, oh, a brand new skeleton variant. That's fun. I mean, it's no Wither Zombie, but it's something very fun. And indeed, people love the Wind Charges, so we're getting a lot more positive reception as updates go on, and I wonder if there's something to that Mojang is specifically and deliberately taking advantage of. Do keep in mind, we haven't had an update title announced yet, but before we talk about any of that, I think it's important to move into the conclusion. The Bogged is a genuinely exciting and well-designed new Minecraft mob, something that has a big improvement over the Husk and the Strayon. When they were added to the game in 1.10, it kind of felt awkward. It felt like they were just adding lazy new versions of mobs, and I think a lot of people still encounter them and go, oh yeah, it's that weird version of the zombie or the skeleton, and so it's really fun that the Bogged has a real context in the game with the trial chambers, but also feels different enough to not just be a lazy same mob but with poison, but actually have a slower draw rate and actually have a little bit less health, so you do have to attack it in a slightly different way, and you have to defend against it in a different way. However, it will have to be even more different yet on Bedrock, and we don't know how it's going to perform there, so that is one of my big questions. But I have two other ones, really. One of these has to be, why is it that we can't test this out on Bedrock? I do understand that sometimes things come out for one platform before the other. This is the nature of development. However, something really weird is that they did have a full trailer ready for this. The vertical video I showed you earlier about this was something released by Minecraft themselves, and at the end of it, they mentioned how it's only available in snapshots. So they pre-prepared this to go out at exactly the same time as the Bogged. That means it's been ready for a few days, right? This has been in the game, ready to go for at least most of a week, but they could not work out how to get it going on Bedrock at the same time. There could be some really good valid reason for this, but Bedrock also doesn't have the wind charge yet. There's going to be a new beta and preview tomorrow that maybe just has these things, and this is all a non-concern, but it's still very weird that there is potentially an 8-day delay between one of the best 1.21 features coming to Java and to Bedrock, because the reverse never happens. It is basically next to never that you'll see a feature come to a Bedrock preview first and then to a Java snapshot, and so there's some slight inequality between how they're treating platforms here, and it feels a little bit like instead of designing features to work for both platforms at once, they design for Java, and then if it works on Java, they'll bring it to Bedrock later. Personally, I'm not sure if I love that system, but what I also think is I think is really weird here is we are 3, 4, maybe 5 months away at the most away from this coming out, and we still don't know the update title. And the reason that's weird is because we know the theming of the update is combat adventures and tinkering, but it only has one combat adventure. I would argue it's just the one big structure, and it's not really got too much tinkering to be done. So is this all about the trial chambers? Is there more to come? I think even what we have so far is exciting, and like at this point, if they just released what we've seen in 1.21, it would still be equal with the last couple of updates. But if they're looking to go bigger, better, stronger, harder, what they do over the next few months in terms of the name, but also how they tie it all in together, is going to be a big part of how this update is more generally received. And so that is something we'll be watching carefully. In fact, I think we'll just stream the beta and preview when it comes out tomorrow. Make sure to come check that out if you want to. I think it'll be fun to like give it a peek if they are going to match these things, because the big questions of how the new mob is going to work are really quite concerning for me personally. Speaking of concerning for me personally, today is Valentine's Day. I hope that you are having a wonderful one, and if you're not, I feel like sometimes people look at holidays, they're like, oh, this is a holiday I'm meant to feel bad about, but just if you're watching this and you're feeling all alone in the world, that is not a thing that I believe you should care about at all. Every holiday is one you get to decide whether you celebrate or not, whether that's Christmas, your birthday, or anything else. Every day only has meaning because you choose to accept it that way, and for many people, Valentine's Day is just, oh yeah, the 15th means you get cheap flowers or chocolate or whatever else it is you care about it, so keep that in mind for yourself. Also, keep in mind that if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, one, it's Valentine's Day, consider subscribing to a channel that you care about, but two, we're very, very close now to finishing off Minecraft, but with archaeology only. It's taken hours of editing, but I've beaten Minecraft using just archaeology, and the run is so very close to coming together. It's over an hour of footage that I guess I'll release to members at some point, that like once we've trimmed it down 95%, so now I'm just trying to trim even more to get as condensed and fun a journey from that as I can. I look forward to sharing that with you, hopefully before the end of this week. For now though, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, because I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully. Assuming I don't have a Valentine's Day fire. Something you could avoid by subscribing, because greater than 99% of Valentine's Day tragedies happen to people who aren't subscribed to the I don't think I should do this. Bye.